Hey there, you're listening to another Roll for Crit podcast, the official podcast for rollforcrit.com. Watch, shop, play. I'm Will Keeler.
I'm Jonathan Estes. How's it happening, schmappenins? We're back this week for another round of gaming news and fun discussions to have. So we thank you for joining us, whether you're watching this on YouTube or listening to our audio podcast, whatever you like to do. Let's get started. This is an interesting story that's near and dear to our hearts. They announced the next expansion for the legendary deck building series in the Marvel lineup, and it's a little bit different from what they've done in the past. It's based on Spider-Man Homecoming, the latest Moavi that was released this summer, and they have never released a set that was actually specifically based on a movie of Marvel.
No, the cinematic universe has not gone into Legendary until now.
And they're going into it so hard that it's not only is it based on that, it's actually stills from the movie for the art on the cards, which a lot of people are up in arms about. So I guess that's where we can start. That's really, they've done this before with Buffy and... was that the first time they did it? I guess
yes,
that's the first time they did it.
It's the first time they did it, because before they did artwork was Firefly, remember?
And nobody liked it, right? So they got mad. So this is the first time, but this is also different because Buffy is self-contained. The Marvel universe, the Legendary games now are by default, because you need that base set to play this. You're going to have a mix of custom, or not custom.
I mean, you can mix Buffy in with that too, but you don't have to.
Right. Original art and movie stills.
Well, you could just stick this with Buffy.
That's true. But it is, I feel like that could be a little jarring. What do you think about it?
I'm going to be honest, I have a lot of problems with this set.
Let's start with the art. Let's start with the art.
Stills, I think, only work if you're a long-running series, TV series. Firefly, I'm amazed that the Gale Force was able to get away with it with one season. Buffy made total sense. You have so much to pull from. This is one movie for, I believe they said 5 heroes, and we know 2 of them. We could probably guess the rest of them.
We actually know 3.
Who's the third?
We
know it's Peter Parker, Tony Stark,
and there's a Spider-Man. Oh, actually 4. And one.
Oh, Spider-Man and Peter.
Yes, there's a Spider-Man and a Peter Parker.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
It's like, are there really enough interesting stills?
So that's yeah. No, I agree with you. It's the only way I kind of get it is that they're trying to market this as really as a standalone. Hey, did you see Homecoming and like it? This is like the Homecoming game. The problem is, like we said, you need a base set to play because you need those starter cards. So it's a strange thing, and it's going to really bother me personally having a full set of Legendary, and then there's just one weird part that has art that looks different, and when you're let's just throw this Spider-Man in, it's going to be strange. I think I don't like that.
No, I mean, I understand that, but I could get over if that was the only issue.
Yeah,
but let me go through this. One, this is way late. If they wanted to ride that, they should have had this come out with the movie.
Yeah.
2, I know Spider-Man's popular. Don't get me wrong, he's your favorite hero. But this has 2 Peter Parkers in essence, and we already have 4 or 5. And I'm not counting, Scarlet Spider, Spider-Gwen, Silk. We have a lot of him.
Yeah. There's got to be at least 5 Spider-Man.
There's regular, the black suit. There's Peter Parker from Civil War. There's probably one. I think there's one more that I'm totally blanking on.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, there's plenty. There's Superior Spider-Man, right? Isn't it?
Is he? No, I don't think he's in it.
No, maybe
I would like him to be in it.
Anyway, there's enough. I agree with you. And then
and that's not counting, because I think it's not fair to count when you count like his clone, like Scarlet Spider.
Sure, those different characters.
Yeah. So like that, and Tony Stark sort of has that feeling, but not at like.
If I had to say the top 3 overused, it'd be Wolverine, then Peter Parker, then Tony Stark.
But I'm trying to think, not related to the base Legendary, but how many times did Tony Stark appear in the movie?
Well,
I'm wondering how many cards are going to be.
As far as the characters from the movie you would make cards from, it does make sense.
No, yeah. Well, the next thing is, who's been pining for the other 2? I assume are his friends, Peter's friends.
So there's an entire group. One group is called Peter's Friends. Now, I do think, to look at this in somewhat of a positive way, I do think it's interesting the way they have. This is the first time they've ever had a hero group of every card is a different character. they've done team-ups before, but this is every card is its own hero. The big card is Aunt May, and the other ones are his classmates from the movie, which I do think is kind of a cool approach to it. I don't think that's a bad.
So one hero group you can put in is a bunch of different people?
It's Peter's friends. That's the group, basically.
See, I understand that, but I rather what they did with them, especially them. I think it would be better if that was an X-Men group. But what they did in the last X-Men group, instead of doing that, is a bunch of bystanders are pretty much the X-Men class that when you save them, they become a hero. Mm-hmm. And that makes more sense for Peter's friends, because let's be honest, they're more likely to be the ones calling for help.
I agree with that, but what else are they going to put? I don't know what this fifth one is even going to be.
I just don't...
No, it shouldn't be made.
And then you have to look at how we brought up many times before. I mean, this is the fourth Spider-Man, and I joked with you when you first told me this. Does this mean we're going to see Marvel Cinematic Universe Ant-Man before we see regular comic Ant-Man?
Yeah.
This just feels...
I don't think they should have ever introduced, I think it was fine having them as two separate things. This is just based on comics. And yeah, they had stuff inspired by the movies, but to actually have the movie in there is such a strange choice.
Yeah.
I mean, they have said that they're, especially in terms of the art, they're feeling out people's reactions, and if people really don't like it, they're going to not do it anymore. So if we keep talking about it, hopefully this will be a one-off weird kind of collector's item.
Yeah, I will be...
Because I don't need to have every Marvel movie now have to buy it.
No, I really hope this is the only Marvel Cinematic one we see. I think the comics have plenty enough if we stay in Marvel.
Yeah.
I think there's plenty of other properties they can get. And, I mean, like we said, we haven't seen Ant-Man, we haven't seen Wasp. There's so many other more interesting things and mechanics that I think they could pull on.
Yeah, there's a lot more they could do before going to this well.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I like the movie, but...
It's weird.
Yeah.
So decide for yourself. You can go online and look at some of the previews they've shown of the cards and see what you think. Maybe you think it's a great idea, I don't know, let us know. So there's another game that has announced another small expansion. Actually, we already talked about this. Mm-hmm. We're a little late on this one, but we forgot to talk about it last week. The Smash Up Oops, You Did It Again had its final results revealed. This was one where they let you vote on what the factions allowed in were.
Right.
And I was very pleased because unlike that first one,
yes,
I felt like the results of this were the exact 4 I would have picked if you gave me the choice.
There was, I think, one I was like, I wish I was in there, but overall, it wasn't that these were bad.
So here's the 4 that are going to be in that set. Vikings, Samurais, Cowboys, and Egypt.
Yeah.
Those names probably aren't totally final, but those are the themes that they're going to be. And I love all those.
No,
I think that's what I voted for.
Those are all better. I think what was interesting is I think 5th place, if I recall, was actually the Russian fairy tale.
Yeah, which is also, it wasn't interesting.
It's just one I don't think of. It's not a bad one.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, this is one we've been saying should have been out earlier. And I'm glad it's finally coming.
Yeah, these are the ones that we're like, yeah, we've always been saying. Now we'll be happy. Now I feel like Smash Up can be a complete whole family together. We haven't played that game in a long time for some reasons, but I would like to, because I feel like you might even have an expansion that we haven't even tried yet, or maybe you don't have the latest ones.
I don't have the latest ones because we've just been doing so many other things. I did get the All-Star set.
Which
one
was
the
that?
promo ones,
right.
and it has
the Space Jam one.
Yeah, yes, that's exactly what it is, the Space Jam one. But yeah, so this one I'm definitely excited about.
Yes, coming out along with the Sheep faction, which I think is soon. That Sheep card, the Sheep faction, which I think I also ordered one because it was free. So, why not? Well, now you can have 2 sheeps. You can have a double sheep deck.
Oh man, well, no, you're not allowed to have 2 at the
Oh,
same
you're
time.
not allowed?
2 people
House
can play it. You just want to go all sheep.
Yeah, I want to go.
You actually might be overpowered then.
Yeah, it's possible. So that's what's coming out for Smash Up. So let us know which of those factions, if you voted for one that didn't make it in, that you would have preferred to see. Perhaps you disagree with us. Now, this is very exciting. I'm going to launch a brand new segment right now that we're going to try out. It's real good.
All right.
Ready?
Can I guess?
Yeah.
Yes. Jonathan tells you what he had for lunch.
Yep. Today it was nothing. Oh no, I had a bagel. No.
We don't eat here. We're hungry.
This new segment is called Name Pending. What's going on Reddit? So I thought we'd go on the board game subreddit and pick out a few interesting discussion topics and maybe just highlight what the community is talking about these days and give our own opinions on it. Basically, have other people come up with content for our show so we don't have to.
Excellent.
Does that sound good? All right, so first up, here's a Reddit post that comes to us from Reddit user Javier Lustanao.
Well, did it come to us, or you found?
No, I just found it.
Okay.
I just found it. He posits the question, should board games get regular patches as though they were video games? And a lot of people in the comments and even the post itself kind of mentioned that they think games maybe already kind of do this with things like errata and second editions. But overall, I think the tone was generally no. Nobody likes video game patches for the most part, at least what they tend to represent. And people, it's would you rather that a game come out and be perfect right away? Obviously, that's ideal. But do you think maybe they could be updated and patched as time goes on? I don't know. What do you think about that notion?
Well, I think I don't have anything wrong with video game patches for the most part. I think people are blaming more of when you have something. I think the company usually people blame is EA, when it seems that's literally the game doesn't even work until it's patched. Yeah. But I mean, when I think of a patch, I think more of like update. There was a small glitch here, so we took that out and fixed it. Like, it's not really, the game's unfinished. So. But in terms of board games, like, we get errata for that, but I don't really want it, with the few exceptions. Mostly because in a video game it's easier. It's literally, it downloaded while I was away. It's not a physical component you have to buy. And you don't have to look it up. For errata, even errata, you have to look up and know that you have to look up for errata.
That's tough.
The few exceptions I'd say is something like Netrunner, Magic the Gathering, something that has a strong tournament scene. Because there's, that's a bit more competitive and there's money on the line.
Right.
So that makes more sense for there to be errata, ban lists, patches, so to speak.
You also brought up video games. Of course, we've been talking about First Martians and other similar games that have apps now, and that makes it a lot easier.
That, I think, is perfectly fine. Because let's say Mansion of Madness. Let's say there was a mistake somehow, like when you went through one story and the boss appears way too early. They could be like, that was a mistake. While the game is supposed to be difficult, not that difficult.
Right.
So we patched it so it should work like this. So when it comes to its digital stuff, that's fine because it does it by itself. Board games, I think, is a bit too pricey for both sides and hard to find. So unless you're in a tournament where you're already looking into everything and where there's official rulings always happening.
Yeah. Try your hardest to make the game very playable on release. But if you can, especially if you're digital, sometimes a patch in the right place here and there, I agree, can be appreciated. All right, now
a patch, not a DLC.
Yes, not day one DLC. Here's a post from user Ira Sky1E. I give this user, this is the first award that we're going to get out in the show, biggest overreaction to any game there ever was. He titles this thread, "Very frustrated after a game of Avalon. What can I learn from this?" I'm going to give you the sum up.
Resistance
The Resistance Avalon.
Okay, just want to make sure.
The sum up is that he was Merlin, and he noticed something happening that was very suspicious and called players out for it who he knew were bad guys. But he believes that if he weren't Merlin, he still would have known it, even though no one else in his group did. At the end of the game, they ended up calling him as Merlin because of that, and he lost. And he was very upset because he felt that had he not been Merlin, it would have been great, and it was his poor luck, and that they didn't seem to understand that they were playing poorly. They were like that he would have caught on to it whether he was Merlin or not. Now, I really just want to point this post out because I think you should all go read it because it's fascinating. Because I'll show you right here. He wrote roughly equivalent to the Bible plus War and Peace. Plus, I mean, every religious text, all the great Russian novels worth of text about.
I just like to start the first comment.
Scenario. First comment starts, "Oh dear, this is not good." Well, this may be a lesson in just maybe don't take your games that seriously.
Well, it's not that. Part of it is you have to understand that Avalon is a group game that really depends on the players you're playing with. How many times I can say that I was chosen as the seer or Merlin, like all those games, and I'm like, nope, I'm a villager, just because I was being good. Like,
right.
The whole point of being Merlin is you have to actually be dumb while trying to secretly point out. Like,
there's definitely also an aspect of playing off the group rather than pure logic, the way I think this guy was doing it. Yeah.
No, you got to understand that each game plays differently, and that's what this game you really have to understand. Sure, logically, you would have found it out no matter what, but that's not it. You have to understand the group and how to trick them.
What matters is would they think you would figure that out, yeah. Which maybe they will from now on. And finally, one more that was interesting. Gamer123098 made a thread. It's only September, but what are you pegging as game of the year for you this year? So it's kind of interesting to see what's buzzing around people's heads already at this stage. A lot of people said Gloomhaven. Also saw Spirit Island, which we haven't played yet, but I'm very excited. We have a copy that I'm dying to get our hands on. There was some Seventh Continent talk, some First Martians talk, some This War of Mine talk, but it seems like Gloomhaven and Spirit Island were really
Gloomhaven, I mean, we backed the second wave, so eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, eventually we'll get to try it out. I saw Magic Maze in there somewhere. But yeah, let us know what you think are in the running so far. There have been some pretty good games, but those I feel like those are the standouts a lot of people are talking about.
Yeah, we'll wait until later when we can get a chance to talk.
Yeah, we're not going to give anything away.
So we may talk about one of the games you mentioned.
It's possible. Don't read the description. All right, now let's get to, that's enough. That was what's going on Reddit. Let us know how terrible that was. And if you never want to see it again. All right, next up we got a couple.
Hopefully we'll come up with a better name.
Yeah, let us know. Give us suggestions. Time for Kickstarter Pickstarter. And I'm going to be leading the pack on this one. The first one is a game called Spy Club that comes from Foxtrot Games. And they are the guys who did Lanterns and some other really fun games that have come out. This is it's a cooperative game that is sort of Clue-ish in its theme. Your kids trying to solve a mystery, sort of a crew of Nancy Drew, Hardy Boys-esque crime solvers, and the way that it works, you have cards that are double-sided, and each of the cards represents one of 5 different categories, like it could be suspect, motive, location, and you're trying to figure out what the crime was by flipping your cards correctly and pushing them into the center until you have 5 of the same type that match, and then from those 5, something in the game will tell you which one is the final component. Whether it's like I said, motive, suspect, location. And at the end of the game, you have you've solved the mystery, and there's sort of a storytelling aspect to it in that you kind of are deciding, oh, it was this kid, and they went to this place and did this thing. So you're sort of playing along and coming up with how the pieces all fit into place. This also has a campaign mode, which is pretty neat, so you can actually string along together and have a full set of stories, so maybe there's one suspect that's been committing all these minor crimes throughout the neighborhood. Cute kind of art style, co-op, mystery game, looked like fun, has a lot of great reviews.
Sorry, at first, when I pictured it, because you said, like, to solve what the actual crime is and stuff. Imagine kids like, we're on the case. What's the case? We don't know.
Yeah, I mean that sort of is what it is. That's the kind of, you don't know anything until you start playing. So it's a little of. I'm curious to try playing it because I can't think of any. It doesn't sound like Pandemic, you know what I mean? It sounds like a more original take, but there is a cooperative aspect where you can use clues to help each other and sometimes trade cards and look at each other's cards because you're not supposed to look at the other side of the card until you flip it to try and get the right ones in the center. Anyway, Spy Club mystery game. It's on Kickstarter now. It only goes for $39. I don't know, it's a normal price. And then we got one from you called STEM, Epic Heroes.
Yes, if you haven't guessed the title, actually is based on the science and part of STEM. Okay. You actually calling on some of scientists' greatest heroes throughout time in order to solve and find a discovery before anyone else. The way it works is there's a hero deck and a discovery deck. The hero deck is filled with very famous scientists as well as some locations and items, while the discovery deck is full of the 5 main steps in order to find discovery. I forget, I'm totally blanking now on order the cards. It's like observation, publishing, so on and so forth. And they'll come in different elements. Your goal is to capture each one.
Okay.
So one of the each steps, but in order to capture them, you need to get the right one. So if there's an observation that's technology, you can play Nikola Tesla, who is a technology, to capture that. But there's also locations and items to get more points with that are like technology-based items and stuff. So it looked like it's just this fun sort of sciencey game, like all this awesome artwork of all the scientists. Like, like I just said, Nikola Tesla, you see like lightning all around him and stuff,
So what part of this is the epic heroes? They're just saying
It's
scientists are heroes?
Yeah, because they're the heroes of science.
All right, sure. Why not? Is Neil deGrasse Tyson in there?
I did not see him, but they showed like, I think 8 people.
He better not be
and
that
many
guy.
more. They all, I can't remember, I think all the ones they showed were dead scientists.
Okay.
But I mean, they could have more recent ones.
Bill
But to
Nye
me,
promo.
that's what they should do. The promo should be like.
Yeah, why not? All right, that sounds good. And that one only goes for $19. So if you like science,
For science.
Yeah, do it for science. All right. Now that's our Kickstarter picks for the week. We have played a few games. We're going to start with one of those big ones that we did mention just a few moments ago.
Tic-tac-toe.
Every time. No, you have been playing Seventh Continent.
Yes.
Which you got from Kickstarter. I haven't had a chance to play it, but I really want to, so I want to hear about it from you, your experiences. What's this game all about?
So I've done it twice.
Yeah.
The first time I did it with a big group of people, or 4 people. And we did the scenarios I suggest.
For people who don't know, what's the...
Yeah, I should, of course.
Yeah, what's the gist?
You previously went on an adventure on a new continent found off the coast of Antarctica, the new amazing continent, and you came back, and it turned out everyone else in your party sort of died, except for you, and you've been having these terrible dreams. And depending on which curse you play, there's different story curses, or you can play multiple of them, you have to get rid of this curse before it's too late. So you return to the island to get rid of it. Depending on what the curse says, it'll tell you how that works out.
And that's always your baseline premise?
Yes.
Okay.
They're just different ways of what the curse means. So you can choose many different characters. All of them, there are people like Dr. Frankenstein, Lovecraft, so on and so forth.
Huh.
And the way the game works is that curse will give you a clue, and actually has a map on it, on the back, for the one I chose. I don't know about the others. I didn't want to spoil.
No spoils.
But so I'm looking at it, and as you adventure, it's like Betrayal when you lay out cards, but they actually match up. So I'm actually thinking like, oh, okay, I need to go like this way and up here to the left and right, and so on and so forth. I'm trying very hard. I realize I shouldn't say too many things for the first story.
Got it.
But the first time we went through, turns out we either had to do an extremely difficult challenge or find some parts. And we couldn't, and we thought we explored everywhere, and we didn't know where to find parts.
Okay.
Turns out there's a secret number on a card. You had to look and see the number. And then, because it has all these cards from 0 to like 700. And it told me to look up this number card, and I looked it up, and that's where we found the other item we needed.
So that's sort of like one of those escape room kind of?
Yes.
Okay.
Time Story-esque almost.
Okay.
But we lost the first time because we couldn't find the item. And your life points, in essence, is a deck of cards called the action deck. It's pretty much where you draw from too. But once that card pile runs out, it flips back over, and you can draw from again. But there are curse cards in there, and if you reveal it after the second time, you instantly lose. So it's a management of your hand. Like, you don't want to draw too much from there, or else you're going to tire yourself out.
Got it.
But the second time I played by myself, and I did the same thing. So I sort of knew where most of the stuff were in the beginning.
Okay.
It's understandable. But it was still fun. It was still fun to read through all these explorations, and there's still some random events that always occurred. And then when I got to I want to call it the second leg, without saying too much. It was so much fun exploring all this stuff and just going around. And then I realized, actually saved it for a bit and then played it again. But then I realized I screwed up a rule. I read a card wrong because it was late, which made me think, because at the time I was like, oh wait, there's no way I'm going to die if I do this combo. But I misread it. But still, so I just said I died, even though I probably would have been fine. But still, it was just so much fun in terms of, it feels like you're playing a point and click.
You were saying missed is what it...
Yeah, that's sort of, except, there's a timer on your life a bit more. And when we played the group, a lot of the people in the group didn't come out liking it as much. They're like, this stinks. I don't want to put that many hours into the game like this and like have to die and start all over. And I'm like, but you play video games. That's like, that's what it. And with the save function, it's so much fun and stuff.
I mean, I guess it's different from Time Stories just because it's longer.
It's a lot longer.
Okay. Because otherwise, that's what Time Stories is too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, or an escape room game, except you just can't restart. You just are done. You just have to leave. Yeah, I mean, I love, as you know, point and click games. So it sounded like really.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I honestly, though, I think I'd only want to play this at most like you and me. That's like. You
think it's more geared toward a solo.
At least I enjoyed it so much more. Just like it was like playing a single player video game. Just like, okay, all right, I got this. I wanna,
Yeah.
The advantages you get, because they actually tell you like if you have 4 people, you can have only 2 items, and that can stack this way. But if you have like only 1 player, you can have 4 items, and they can stack this much. So it just felt more. I felt more powerful.
Have you looked at all ahead to any of the other scenarios and stuff like that? Do you know what?
I only know the names.
Okay.
I didn't want to read anything else.
Okay, I get it.
Also, comparing it to Time Stories, expansions are a lot cheaper.
Oh, really?
Well, because they don't add that much. It's more of like the few curse cards and a couple other things, compared to like.
There's no app component in this, is there?
There's music. You can play some music.
Because it sounds like the kind of game that would have an app.
Oh, it could easily be a digital version.
Well, that sounds awesome. Seventh Continent. You backed it on Kickstarter.
Yes, hence why it's up.
Right. So I don't know in terms of wide release when people are going to be able to get it, but hopefully I'll get to try it soon. So that Seventh Continent sounds really fun. I mean, if you haven't heard of it already, everyone's been saying that it's amazing. We played another game that is also a big hit, but a new version of an old classic, some would say, called Modern Art. This is designed by Rainer Knizia. This is the new edition, has all brand new artwork and components, but I'm pretty sure the gameplay for the most part has stayed identical to that original version. Essentially, it's a bidding game. Everybody represents a museum, and every turn you are actually going to put out a painting from your own hand. And depending on what the symbol is, that determines what type of auction it is. So it could be just a regular, everybody's shouting out what their price and the highest bid wins. Or it could be a closed auction where everyone puts their money in their hand and reveals their at the same time. It could possibly be everybody just gets one bid and you just go around in order. There's a couple others in there. So that it's like every auction game you've ever played kind of mixed into one. There's also this interesting thing where there are 5 different colors of artworks. Each one is a different artist, and whoever sold the most.
4. Was it 5? No, it's 5. It's 5.
Okay, it's 4 or 5.
Because there's orange, yellow, green, blue, red.
You got it. Whoever sold the most, whichever color was bought the most during that round or auctioned off and therefore bought. Becomes the most popular and is now going to be worth more money at the next round. So that every game you're going to be changing which cards you're trying to go for and your strategy of when you want to bid or don't want to bid. Because if green is the most popular, you might want a bunch of green, but maybe someone else has some green, so you want to try to put blue further up to stop them a little bit. That's basically how the game works. We like bidding games. This is a very pure bidding game, and I thought it was very enjoyable.
Well, comparing it to other bidding games, I actually like it a little bit more because usually it's the same kind of bid. But with this, there's a lot more thinking of like, all right, blue's won last round with the popularity, and right now Jonathan already has a blue. Now I could play this blue card and try to win it, or I can take this yellow card, which allows me to play another yellow card with it, so that's a double yellow, which means yellow is more likely to win the popular round for this round. So there's a lot more thinking because of the different bidding system and seeing what people bought and stuff. So
yeah, once you get to the later rounds, you're really you can think things can change. Where oh man, reds are the best.
No, like green. I remember ours. The first 2 rounds, green didn't win anything. I don't remember which color referred to which.
Yeah,
artist.
no. I don't.
But then the 4th and 5th round, because of that, people were like, oh, I can buy greens on cheap.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, green just rose up in popularity.
Yeah, so that's a good back and forth mechanic that they have. It's kind of built into it. The art is really fun. If you really want to, you could just be like, oh, I'm just going to go for the art that I like the most and bid that way. It might not help you win, but I don't know, it'd be fun. And it did take like a couple rounds for everyone to kind of wrap their heads around that, what we just mentioned, that color mechanic and how the money was laid out. But once you do, It's very simple. If you've ever played it, even if you haven't played a bidding game, if you understand what an auction is, you can teach this to
people. If you like bidding games, this is definitely one you should pick up, because I really do think the style of how the points work and how there are actually different kinds of bids really brings a lot of interesting choice to the table.
Yeah, I think I tend to prefer a bidding game when it is usually part of a larger game, like Encyclades or Colosseum, as opposed to strictly just bidding. But I think because of what you said, how there's all the different types of auctions, it gave it enough variety to stand on its own and not just be a little game. So that's Modern Art, a lot of fun. And finally, you played a game called Heart of Crown.
Yes, this is a deck building game.
Okay.
But the way it works is you are all like advisors and stuff trying to get a princess of your choice into the head of the crown because the king died. But the way the game works is you don't start with like, this is the princess I'm choosing. The princesses are actually laid out. I believe there's 6 cards you can choose from in the core set, not including expansions. And you start with your basic deck like everything else. And later on, you'll actually choose one of those princesses to put in front of you and be like, this is the one I'm choosing to back. And only you can back that one. And they each give unique abilities and stuff. Okay. So it's not a like DC deck building game, which you might expect, where this is my Batman card. I know right off the bat I'm building tech. You actually might adjust mid-game and be like, okay, I'm not doing that, so instead I'm going to go for that princess.
And once you claim them, though, during the game, then no one else can...
That one, yes. And the game also changes. You then will have 2 separate areas. You'll have your point area and your deck. And your goal then, once you choose a princess, is to get 20 points in there before anyone else, and then you can claim a coronation ceremony. Then everyone else has a chance. If anyone else hits 20, like one more turn, then they challenge your coronation, and then first to 30 wins. But it becomes this interesting because you have to give up cards to put in there. So some of your cards are only meant for points. Some have both. So you may be like, all right, I'm losing this card to put in for my points to try to get some more victory. You also can't just play your hand. You actually have to play cards with arrows next to them. Like they'll have a little side arrow, meaning you can play another card. So some of the strong cards mean they're the last card you have to play. Some other cards are weaker, but they allow you to play 2 more cards afterwards. So it becomes this fun dynamic of like, how do I stack my deck so I can actually optimize my hand so it's not just one card I'm done.
That's interesting. So that sounds like that's sort of how it, at least in one way, it differentiates itself from other deck building games where you're always just like, boop.
Yeah. And finally, the lineup, like you'd usually expect, is sort of I want to call it a mix between what Dominion and DC do. It's random, and you choose groups like Dominion. You shuffle them, and you keep flipping out until you have 8 different cards out. So let's say I played like one card was called like a spy, and I flipped out 2 spies. I'm gonna have a pile for spies. So you're gonna have 8 piles of cards. So that makes it more like Dominion, where there's multiple copies, and it changes the way you think, because as soon as you empty a pile, you flip until you new one. So if you're like, I could get that last good card by emptying out a pile, and I might give him a chance to reveal, or I can buy this card and he'll have the same options out.
That's interesting. I like that. I was gonna say it's like kind of like Resident Evil, but you don't flip new piles once you end up emptying one out. They're just
unless there's only like 7 different cards out, you're going to see the same things.
Right, right.
And of course, they give suggestions. It's fun. Like, this is if you want to do a more aggressive game, use these cards. For a more like ramping game, use these. So
that's cool. That's cool. That sounds like a good twist. I don't know if maybe you probably already said this or not, and I just missed it. Is it like DC, where there's one power type, or is it like Legendary where you're split between like, is there like attacks?
Well, there is 2. There's the money to buy cards from the lineup, and then there's the, I forget what they call them, like Regal points, which you use
Princess
afterwards.
Points.
Yeah, to give to get that coronation.
Okay, so overall.
No, it was very fun. Yeah.
Check it out. That's Heart of Crown. And that's all we've been playing pretty much these days. We'll get some new ones to talk to you about next week. If you have any comments about the news we discussed today, the Kickstarters, if you were in one of those Reddit threads and you're buzzing about what's going on over there, let us know about that. We'd love to hear it. You can comment right here. And while you're at it, you might as well like and subscribe to this channel so you can get more and more videos like this one on a daily basis.
And of course, we're in so many other places. You can find us at Instagram and Twitter at Roll for Grit, Facebook, inside the refrigerator currently.
Yeah. What about our website? What's that again?
Of course, that's rollforcrit.com, where we sell a lot of games, really cool ones, and as well as post all our videos there and have all of stuff. It's really just a great place to go.
And if you're on YouTube, check out you can subscribe on iTunes if you want to listen to us on the go, and if you're on iTunes, vice versa. Until next time, my friends, play some good games. I'm Jonathan Estes.
And I'm Will Keeler, and you've been listening to Roll for Crit.
But not watching.
Not watching?
Nope.